Oh no, where is my? There we go. I'm Brett Corbett, Field Research and Technical Service Manager. I actually just got that title as of 2 weeks ago. With PrimeSource, we had a merger with Allball that I'll explain a little bit. So that is my new title. It was Director of Technical Services, but I am going to be doing a lot more field research I'm excited about this year. So the agenda for the presentation today is we're going to talk a little bit about turf herbicide families. I want to talk to you about the new PrimeSource. I want to go over our Triad family of herbicides, which is our flagship products. We're going to talk to you about a few things we just got registration for, talk about surfactants, when and when not to use it, and then we'll go through conclusions and get to some questions. So let's get started. So there are currently 22 different WSSA herbicide groups. These herbicide groups come from the Weed Science Society of America. That is what WSSA stands for. However, there's only about 14 groups that are registered and regularly used in turf. So here is an example of the common ones used in turf. If you look on the left-hand side, they don't go 1 through 28. There is a few gaps. And then you also see things like 5, 6, and 7, which would be a photosystem 2 inhibitor. We kind of link those together, as well as like mitosis inhibitors, and then things like cellular biosynthesis inhibitors. So some of them have multiple classes through for each active ingredient, and other examples would be like a group 4 synthetic auxin, and then a group 6, which would be a quinclorac. Quinclorac falls in group 4 for dicots and group 26 for monocots, which is, it's getting very complicated. But anyway, these are your common groups, and I put in there, you know, they have pre-activity or post-activity. And I want to share with you some of the herbicides that we bring to market and show you, you know, we have a broad spectrum of different classes, and it's important to understand these so you don't have herbicide resistance that you're constantly rotating.
Hey, Brett, quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
We talk mechanic of action, and I'm assuming mode of action, or maybe an interchangeable word, but
yes, sir.
A lot of us don't understand how some of these products work, what their mode of action is. So how does a synthetic auxin actually control weeds, if you could describe it briefly?
All right, so a synthetic auxin, basically what it does is when an auxin is a hormone inside the plant, and as it starts to produce that, it starts to grow. Well, these synthetic auxins will go in there and disrupt that system in the plant, and confuses the plant on how it should grow. So it basically kills itself from the inside out. And a lot of these will work in similar fashions. For example, a photosystem 2 inhibitor will disrupt its how it goes through photo periods. A HPPD inhibitor is a bleacher, so it bursts the cells. A glutamine group 10 and a group 9, which is your glyphosate glufosinate, also is a cell disruptor as well. So most of them deal with internal part of the plant. Some of them are external to internal, but they usually just confuse the plants in its normal life cycle and help to disrupt it. It's actually pretty cool science.
Very cool. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, that brings us to quiz question 1.
We're already on quiz question number 1.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody's paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So the quick poll went out. You guys have got a minute to answer all the questions. 13% have already voted. And come on, guys, this is a gimme question. What does WSSA stand for? The World Stacking Association, the Western Social Science Association, or the Weed Science Society of America? That's a tough one. Let's manage the polls. Let's close that up. And we're going to share the results of it. And 93% got the answer correct. Weed Science Society of America, 5% put in Western Social Science Association, and only one person said World Stacking Association. So we're good to go.
All right.
You're back up.
All right. So I want to talk to you about the new PrimeSource. So PrimeSource is now a division of Allball. I wasn't too familiar with Allball.
Hold up for a second. We are not seeing your screen, sir. We're running into operational difficulties.
Okie dokie.
Hi.
Let me see. Is that?
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Now we can see it. Perfect.
Okay. So like I was saying, PrimeSource went through a merger with Allball. This started the very first day of this year. Didn't know much about Allball, as in because they didn't have a strong turf presence. They're mainly a agriculture and row crop chemical. They are one of the largest post-patent crop protection chemical companies in the world, multi-billion-dollar company. They are an American-owned company with a single minority owner, or a majority owner. He is Dennis Allball, and he's a farmer out of Iowa. Still farms to this day. Met the guy. He's a really, really nice guy, very down to earth, very humble. With this merger, Allball has over 306 technical registrations that are not PrimeSource. So there's going to be a lot that falls into our lap. So we're hoping for a very quick expanding portfolio that we'll be able to bring you guys. Here's just one photo I wanted to show. This is their manufacturing plant that I guess is now our manufacturing plant in St. Joe, Missouri. This is a 41 acre of just manufacturing. It's one of the largest manufacturing plants in the United States as far as for agriculture chemicals. It is Allball was big in glyphosate. They actually have one of the largest glyphosate productions in the entire world. With one of their mixing vats is over 2 million gallons, which is, I've seen it in person. I live on the 9th floor of a skyrise in Raleigh, and I would say it would easily reach to my window. So it is a massive, massive, massive facility. This photo does not do it justice. Anyway, just excited to have a big piece of industry like that in our backyard. So this is our old kind of our sales motto. You know, we want to bring unique products, develop and manufacture, select post-patent specialty products. None of this has changed in the merger. We still are PrimeSource. We still have the same vision in mind, and we want to bring you guys unique products and differentiated products, as well as good post-patent products. So customer service has not changed. We still are using the same customer service team that was located in Middlesex, North Carolina, which is where PrimeSource used to be located. And we will have another branch in Iowa. So the same day shipping, the 2-day shipping, all that is still going to be the same. Still going to do mixed pallets. Still going to be able to mix and match as well as far as what you want, cases, and we can ship just a case. You don't have to order a full pallet. And then this is an old slide that PrimeSource used to show. So we're keeping, like I said, the same distribution plants. We have one in Middlesex, one in Evansville, Iowa, and one in Fresno, California. And if you order, this is your percentage that you're going to receive it in how many days later. So like I said, we cover the entire country in 3 days, or 96% of the entire country in 2 days, with 100% in 3 days. All right, now to some herbicides. So I'm sure a few guys are familiar with our Triad line. It's expanded even more. We brought Triad TZ towards the end of last year out. So I want to talk to you about a few things on that. But we're just going to go through each one individually. I'm going to show you some in-house research. I'm going to show you some external research we've done at some universities, and kind of talk to you about what separates our products from products that are in the market, as well as why we brought these to the market, and show you different active ingredients that meet different herbicide classes so that you don't have to worry about resistance. So the first one is our Triad Select. It is a 3-way, like a lot of 3-ways in the market. However, the big difference here is we use MCPA instead of MCPP, and it has 2,4-D and dicamba. So MCPA, a lot of people don't really know that much about it. It's actually used, it's a group 4 synthetic auxin. It's very similar to 2,4-D. It's a sister, what we call a sister compound of 2,4-D. It's actually used more in agriculture than it is used in turf and ornamental. MCPP didn't really have a home when they discovered the synthetic auxin, and it was a little bit weaker than the other synthetic auxins. So they placed it in turf, more of a marketing strategy. So we feel like with our combination, we do have a much stronger product than anything in the market that doesn't have that PA, that has that PP. But some of the key weeds that this controls that you should be using this for is doveweed, which I'll talk to you about. A lot of you guys aren't familiar with that, as it's more of a southeastern weed, but it will be in your area soon because it is a very invasive weed. And then your dandelions, broadleaf plantains. Some key points I want you to take away is it does have a low odor formulation, and it is rain fast in 4 hours. Almost all of our triad line is blended with special surfactants when we make it for the manufacturer to make it rain fast in that 4 hours. And this is safe on a bunch of cool season grasses as well as some warm season grasses as well.
So Brett, my question to you is this. It already comes with a surfactant package and it's rain fast in 4 hours, which is great. You ever recommend adding any additional surfactant for results?
Yeah, and I'll explain that at the end. We always recommend adding, with all post-emergent herbicides, we recommend a surfactant. And we've done a lot of research on that over 3 years, just proving that when you add a surfactant, you do get over that hurdle of 80 to 90% control to that 100% control. So we always recommend the surfactant with all post-emergent chemistry.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So again, I was telling you about doveweed. Doveweed is an invasive weed that is coming up from Florida. It came from the Caribbean. It looks like a grass, but it acts like a broadleaf. Grassy herbicides will not take care of it. However, 3-ways seem to be really good. Relzar is a new product coming out by Corteva, and then Celsius as well. So if you see those on the chart. And then we wanted to put our 3-way against other 3-ways in the market, so Trimec and Triplet. Again, I said the difference between our products and those products is we have the MCPA component, which is different than the MCPP component that they have. And as you can tell, our Triad Select gives 100% control, where some of the ones with MCPP will start to fall off a little bit. We also want to test it against Triad SFZ, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, which is our 3-way as Triad Select, but we've added sulfentrazone with it as well. And it does provide very good control. You get a little bit more speed out of this one. However, the Triad Select is the Cadillac when it comes to this weed. And I believe I have a photo of this weed. Here we are. So if you look to the left, that's the untreated. And like I said, it looks like a grass, but believe it or not, that is a broadleaf weed. It's very similar to Virginia buttonweed. It's commonly mistaken as that. Very difficult to control. Before we were doing a lot of 3-way testing, this was a multiple application problematic weed. However, with our Triad Select at the full rate, the 1.5 fluid ounce per 1,000 square feet with the NIS, we were able to take this weed out with one application. And you can see it didn't hurt the Bermuda grass, and that Bermuda actually recovered really well in this trial. So it was exciting to be able to finally get something to control this problematic pest. And here is the second part of the trial. So this is the untreated is on the left. We have our Triad Select in the middle at 14 and 21 days. And then we have Relzar, which is a Corteva product. And they were bringing this product to market specifically saying that it was a good doveweed control. And then we have Celsius at the bottom. So as you can tell, Triad is definitely head and shoulders above anything else in the market with this weed in mind. So I mentioned low odor. This is a pretty fun trial we did at Virginia Tech. They have they call it the sniffer. It's a device that you can actually breathe and inhale after you've sprayed, and it calculates the parts per million of the anything in the air that it detects. And so more than likely it's detecting herbicides. So it's a way to quantify how something smells. So we sprayed it, we went and smelled it right after we sprayed. 1 minute later, we smelled it again. And then 2 minutes later, we smelled it again. And we were able to quantify the amount of part per million odor is in the air. As you can see, Triad Select is the dark green, where we have other 3-ways in different colors. And we typically trend to be one of the lower herbicides as far as odor herbicides in the market. And that is to do with the PA component and as well as different surfactants we have in there. So this is these are 2 big weeds, broadleaf plantain and dandelions. We mentioned that earlier. Those are the typical weeds we recommend this product to go to. As you can tell against other industry standards, we match up pretty well. Numerically, we're better on dandelions, and statistically, it appears that we were better than triplet. And on broadleaf plantains, we were definitely equal to Trimec and slightly better than triplet. So this is another thing we wanted to test this year. This is green Kalinga. This was done at NC State on the coast. I know green Kalinga is becoming a pretty problematic pest, especially up in you guys' area. We've had it for a while. We did this for someone's yard, so this is at somebody's house. They had matted green Kalinga, and we wanted to see if we added Triad and splash sulfentrazone, would it take out the Kalinga, because the sulfentrazone has properties on grassy herbicides. As a grass herbicide, it takes out sedges. Triad would help prevent any new weeds in the area if there was anything else. Tested against Celsius, and as you can see, the results are head and shoulders. We were able to get almost 100% control of green Kalinga. This is at 28 days after application. When we put our Triad to control for broadleaf weeds with 5 ounces of our sulfentrazone, and then we tested it with Celsius. So we'll be definitely repeating these studies because the results are so good, and trying to come up with a Kalinga spray program.
Now, quick question for you, Brett. That is a picture after 1 application, correct?
That is 1 application, yes, sir.
And this was last year?
Yes, sir. We did this at the start of 2020. I think it was on the ground in April, and we did the ratings May and June, concluded the study, and then we repeated it again in the fall. So we had 2 data sets in 1 year, and like I said, it looked so good that I think we're going to move forward, and because we were trying to design a program on how to get rid of green Kalinga in yards.
So this is my question. Sulfentrazone does a good job. Are you expecting some grow back from plants that maybe you've knocked down but didn't totally kill, or do you think you got total kill with that 1 application?
We did see some grow back, about 20 to 30% resurgence, but we did see a synergy with our Triad, and we also felt that the Triad was able to knock down the broadleafs enough that the sulfentrazone held the Kalinga at bay. But again, there was around 20 or 30% resurgence in the Triad plus sulfentrazone trial. I would say probably 50 or so % in the Celsius, and then the untreated never really got touched. We did have these products as standalones as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, next brings us to Triad SFZ. So this is comparable to a Surge in the market. That's what we compare it to. And this is the 2,4-D MCPA and dicamba that is similar to our Triad. And for this one, we added some sulfentrazone to it. In order to do that, we did bring the 2,4-D and dicamba rates or percentages slightly down. But the takeaways for this one is you're going to see fast results because you have the sulfentrazone, which is a different chemistry. And with that sulfentrazone added, you're going to get nutsedge, you're going to get some clover, dandelion, broadleaf plantain. And again, this is rain fast in 4 hours because it does have that surfactant package. This is going to be good for all cool season grasses, as well as some warm season grasses. And, just always check the rates before applying it. So like I said, it's comparable against Surge. It is a slightly different formulation than Surge. When you spray them side by side, they do look slightly different, but it's as close as you can get. So this is at Virginia Tech. The first study is on white clover. The bottom study is on dandelion. And as you can see, you want the graph to go down because that is percent coverage. So you're hoping that you reduce the amount of coverage of the weed stands, and they Surge and Triad SSC look pretty comparable. And then we have a very similar study on dandelions done at Ohio State. As you can tell, it's a little bit faster than Surge. You know, a big boost of 36% after 1 week of spraying, and then 2 weeks you're at 75% kill, and then the 98 to 92%. Very, like I said, very similar. That's what we're comparing against the market. Surge is a 4-way with sulfentrazone as well. That brings us to Triad QC. Triad QC is a 3-way. Triad SFZ was 4-way, but this one is a 3-way. So instead of the MCPA, we took that out and put in Quinclorac. As I mentioned earlier, Quinclorac is a group 26 herbicide. So it gets monocots. It's a graphic herbicide. So when you would want to use this is when you're trying to deal with broadleaf weeds as well as grasses, particularly crabgrass in your yard. So that's what I want you to think of with using this product is 2 for 1. Basically, you're getting grass and broadleaf. And again, this is rain fast for 4 hours. It is also good on dandelions, broadleaf plantains, and stuff like that, clover. So here's 2 different slides. The first one is white clovers and dandelion that we did at Purdue University. So wanted to show our Triad QC versus Quincep and then Q4 Plus. And as you can tell, everything's pretty comparable. And then the bottom one is crabgrass. So the Triad QC and Quincep as well as Q4 Plus all have Quinclorac in it, so you should get some crabgrass control. And then we did our QC plus just a splash of our sulfentrazone. So if your crabgrass is big, angry crabgrass, really hard to control, and you need 100%, not just to knock down, we do recommend our Triad QC with just a splash of sulfentrazone, basically making your own Q4 Plus, and it works really, really well. As you can see, it actually works better than the premix. So these are just we repeated the trials, same thing, clover, dandelion. This is at Virginia Tech, just comparing what we make, Triad QC versus Quincep, a comparable product that's already in the market. And as you can see, it's pretty apples to apples here. So this brings me to my favorite slide on Triad QC. So we are a post-patent company, and a lot of people think that we just make the same thing that everybody else does, almost to a T, since it's off patent and we don't have to, we won't get in trouble for making the same thing. But in reality, we test this. We do have formulation chemists on site. We have labs. We have PhDs on staff. So when we come out with our product, it might have the same 3 chemicals, but we do work really hard on making sure our surfactant packages are different, making sure our safety is better, making sure our efficacy works better. It is a unique product, even though it acts and looks similar. We knew Quincep had an issue with injury on certain cool season on grasses, so we put a safener in ours. We actually have more active ingredient in our Triad QC than what Quincep has in the market. So we do have a higher load, so you do get slightly more active ingredient. However, our product is safer. So we did this study on Kentucky bluegrass injury at Virginia Tech, and as you can tell, I mean that's a pretty big difference when you get less than 15% injury to almost 35% injury.
So Brett, when you're talking about injury, percent injury, are we calling just discoloration, or are we actually killing the Kentucky bluegrass plant?
It's going to be discoloration and maybe delayed growth would be how you would quantify it, or possibly some plant death. Yes, sir. So anything in those three categories would fall under injury. It depends on who's rating it, what university is rating it, but generally those are the three that you look for. So I'm sure this is one of the newer herbicides that we've launched. Triad TZ. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's our version of T-Zone. So it is a 4-way. It is 2,4-D, dicamba, sulfentrazone, but we also added triclopyr. So the thought behind this one is you got the 2,4-D dicamba, which is used in most 3-ways, so you're gonna get a lot of broadleaf. The sulfentrazone is going to help with speed, and it's also going to help with grassy weeds. And the triclopyr is there to get the harder control weeds. So if you look on weeds control, you're going to see ground ivy, you're going to see wild violet, some really, really difficult to control weeds, as well as clover. You know, because clover, you got to know your life cycle of your plant or when to control clover. So if you're trying to control clover midsummer, you know, it's kind of hard to control it with the typical 3-way. This is the product you want to go out with. This is also a good fall product when you have things like wild violet and ground ivy, your winter perennials growing. This is what you want to go with. Again, this is safe on most cool season grasses. You do get some warm season grasses, but again, always follow the label, and it has our surfactant package in it, so rain fast within 4 hours. So if you put this out before a rain event, you should be good to go.
So question for you, Brett. This is good for cool season control. So it works like, you know, some of our old-fashioned esters that we used when it was too cold to spray an amine broadleaf weed control. So what's the temperature range on this product? How low can the temperatures be where we're going to see control, and at what point should we possibly cut off spraying because we're worried about turf injury?
Yeah, it's a good point about the ester. This is an ester formulation. It's not the amine formulation of triclopyr, which does help in cooler temperatures. Typically with all herbicides, you go off of degree days. So you want your soil temperature to be about 55 degrees. That means the plant is actively working or actively growing, which is able to uptake these herbicides. So 55 degrees is really the cutoff, which is probably feels like a warm summer day to you guys right now up in the Northeast. But that's actually decently chilly outside. So 55 degrees, 50 to 55 is really the cutoff that you will get adequate control. Now you can go lower, but you do lose some percentage of control. But anything above that 50 to 55 threshold, you're going to get adequate control. So the herbicide should be working properly.
And is there any high temperature cutoff you'd recommend?
So we always say 90 to 95, and that's more for plant injury than anything else as far as surrounding plant species. It's also a volatility thing when you have some of these synthetic auxins. So typically 50 to 95 degrees is when you want to spray any herbicide.
Thank you.
So here are 3 studies. Our Triad TZ versus T-Zone for Sure Power. Again, our TZ is a slightly different formulation than T-Zone. Ours is a SC. Theirs is a SE, suspension emulsion. Ours is a suspended concentrate. So they do look a little different. We don't have the bloom when you put it in a bottle that theirs has. And we want to test against Sure Power. I know that's the newer chemistry that's in the market as well. As you can see, everything looks pretty similar. We have % white clover. Everything looks about the same. Ground ivy. Ours actually was the best looking one, and we did start with the highest percentage of ground ivy. And then in dandelion control, they all kind of teetered out. Ours actually did a tick better than the T-Zone, very similar to Sure Power. Here's another study we did. The picture on the left is T-Zone. The picture on the right is our Triad TZ. Again, we did it on white clover. That's white clover that you see in that photo. Almost 100% control after 2 or 3 weeks. That speed of sulfentrazone and that knockdown power of triclopyr, you really do get fast results. And then control the Virginia buttonweed. That's a really tough weed. Usually it's on multi-application. We just want to test one application to see if there was any separation of our product in the market. And as you can tell, they look very similar. Both of them got around 70, 72% control. And then after a couple months, it fell off, which is pretty typical with Virginia buttonweed. I mean, like that's usually, like I said, two application a year a weed. So.
All right, gonna launch the next quiz, folks. You're gonna have 30 seconds to take this. Another give me quiz. The Triad herbicide line of a product is rain fast within an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4. Let's see. You guys are starting to fill out the answers. Oh, this is fun. So Brett, while they're answering this question, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I see your university test results at almost 100% control, but being reported back to me from the people outside in our industry, they're getting not the same results. If there is one key takeaway that you can tell these folks that so they can mirror the same results that you're getting at the plot because they think, oh, those are doctored. What do you think it is? Is it a surfactant? Is it application rate? Is it timing? Or is it all three that's playing a role?
I would say it's all three. So when we usually it's different when you have you're treating someone's yard compared to a university professor. When we write these protocols and he goes out, he knows the optimal time, and it's almost a controlled environment to an extent when he can put this trial out whenever he wants to get optimal results. Whereas when you're treating someone's yard or even a golf course, you have to spray to satisfy your customers, whether it's a homeowner or someone playing. So you don't have the luxury of waiting the perfect time to make sure that weed's in the juvenile stage, or make sure your weights are 100%. And they're also doing small plots too. Whereas obviously when you're covering a big yard, there's going to be some gaps or missed application areas. You might have overlap where you get a little too much herbicide in one area, but not enough herbicide in the other area. So these are as controlled, as good a controlled environment as we possibly can get.
Okay, thank you. So yes. Results are in. The three-way or triad herbicide packages or packaged products are rain fast in 4 hours. 74% of you got it right. 15% said 1 hour. 7% said 2, and 4% said 3. So to the 74%, hoorah. Hoorah. Take it away. You're back up.
All righty. All right. Well, that's our triad line. I wanted to talk to you about some things that we launched at the end of this past year. Between the merger and launching, some of them kind of fell through the cracks a little bit. Some people didn't know we had these, but this is one of our new products. So it is flumioxazin. SureGuard, Clipper, Tamara, that's the brand alternate. Is a 51% product. Flumioxazin is a pre and a post herbicide, so it does have both. It also has aquatics. It is a cool season turf herbicide, and it controls over 100 different tough weeds. I'm sure you'll see a few of them listed on the far right, just some labeled weeds: annual bluegrass, barnyard grass. It's got broadleaf and grasses that controls, from morning glories to the thistles, the surges, green kalinga. I mean, it literally is a one-shot, do-it-all weed, and it is a PPO inhibitor, so it is very similar to a sulfentrazone, as it's really quick. So a good herbicide. Haven't got to play around with it too much because we launched it in the last year. I'm looking forward to testing it in turf and also in some aquatic weeds because I've heard really good things for hydrilla.
Yeah, I've actually used this product, and if anyone has a pool with pavers around it, spurge comes up every year. So I've got a pool that's 17 years old. It's got pavers that are 17 years old. I've never resealed. So every year I get my summer annuals that pop up through that. I spray around the pool area at the high rate at the end of May, and I do not see a weed on that paver patio until late September when I'm starting to close it up. So I'm sold on this as a great bed weed control, a great crack and crevice control product, and it's reasonably priced. And I'm a geek, so I can tell you it's 122 broadleaf and grassy weeds that this product is labeled to control. So yeah, it's well over 100.
Yeah, 122. You're right. And like I said, it is a post-emergent and pre-emergent. So if you do spray it as a post-emergent, you will get that pre-emergent effect. So you're exactly right. You spray it, you kill it, and then you prevent it from coming back. So it's a very unique herbicide that we're excited to launch. Another one that we came out with is Beluca. It's a prolegonic acid. This is more of your glyphosate alternative product. This is a prolegonic acid. There's other prolegonic acids that are in the market. However, we, to my knowledge, are the only USDA certified bio-based product, and we are in the process of getting a OMRI certification for this one as well. Excuse me. So this one is not systemic. It kills everything it touches. It's a non-selective herbicide. It is a derivative of sunflowers, so it does smell very good. It's compared to the other prolegonic acids that are in the market. They're usually animal fat. That's how they produce them to get the oils out. This is a very, very low odor, but the odor that it does, it smells like sunflowers or soybean oil. It's really good on like grasses, mosses, sidewalks. This is a good paver control as well. And again, the flower beds, annual beds. Again, this does not have glyphosate in it, prolegonic acid. And what they call how it works is a cell disruptor, as you can see in the top right, the mode of action. It basically penetrates through the cuticle. It goes to the deeper cells, and then what it does, it basically dehydrates and erupts the cells from the inside out. It says loss of water in the cells, and you see the sun in the top right. These type of products do work a lot better when it's on a hot, sunny day compared to overcast. But I do have a photo in the next slide of spraying it on an overcast day, actually during the rain, to see how it stood up. So the B is our Beluca. A is Act, which is another competitive product in the market. And the S is Scythe, which I'm sure you've heard of, which is another prolegonic acid in the market. Again, I sprayed this when it was overcast and raining in a clover field. And in the photos, the below is 2 hours after application. So you can already see it's already kicking in and working. And the photos to the right showing the difference is 12 hours after application. So I sprayed it first thing in the morning on a rainy day, and that night or that afternoon before sun went down, we already had dead grass. So very, very fast. You can actually, if you start in the front yard spraying it and you get to the backyard, by the time you come back to the front yard, the weeds are usually starting to die already. That's how quick this stuff works.
So you said it was a cell wall disruptor, right?
Yes.
And so with a cell wall disruptor, and it's not systemic in nature.
No, it is.
My guess is that we're going to see maybe some grow back on some of the hardier plants.
Yes. So it's basically, think of it as a straight acid. What it touches, it kills. However, it's not going to get the thicker roots for tough to control weeds. So any tough or thick rooted perennials, annuals as well, it'll kill it up top, and you'll get a couple weeks of good control. However, you will see some grow back if you did not kill the roots. So it is not systemic. It is just a contact herbicide. But and it's really good on things that don't have a root structure, such as like mosses, for example. Really, mosses don't have a thick root system. You spray it; those normally do not come back because it contacts pretty much the entirety of the plant.
But if you have something that has a hardier root system, say like a dandelion that has a large tap root, you spray it once, you're going to knock it down. You may have to come back and spray it a second time, or potentially a third time to get total control, but the product will still work. It just may take more applications. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, it is a multi-application for stuff like a dandelion. Yes, sir.
Okay. I also noticed that the label was warning. This is going to be OMRI certified. Why does it have a warning label?
Because it is an acid, and if you look at the percent active ingredient, it's a very concentrated acid, and it's mainly for eye. It does have eye irritants with anything else in the market like this as an acid. An eye irritant, more than likely we have to put a warning symbol on it.
So PPEs are going to be rubber gloves and safety glasses.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
All right, that brings us to our final question.
Launching. All right, guys. Again, another give me, except that 14% of you are answering it wrong already. Oh my goodness. Beluca is a systemic herbicide, true or false? I've used similar products to this. I found on like winter annuals, like chickweed. I hit them, they don't come back.
Yeah.
Dandelion or something, a grassy weed, it usually takes me multiple applications to get the results that I'm desiring.
Yeah, and ours again is all natural, plant-based. So one thing that really separates ours from other ones in the market is we don't have the foaming effect when you put it into a tank. And we're positioning this as a glyphosate alternative. If you have a customer who doesn't want that G word being sprayed, or scared of lawsuits or something, this is a good organic solution is how we're classifying it as.
Got it. All right, so we closed down the quiz, and the question is, Beluca is Beluca a systemic herbicide? And 25% of you answered true, and 75% answered false, and the answer is false. It is not a systemic herbicide. Brett, keep going.
All right. That brings us to our next glyphosate alternative, which is X-Out. This is something we launched at the end of 2019, start of 2020. This is glufosinate, so it is a different class of chemistry. Glyphosate is a group 9 herbicide. Glufosinate is a group 10 herbicide. They sound very similar. They work in very similar fashions. Glyphosate was always a little bit better, but than glufosinate. But with the recent issues with glyphosate, with lawsuits, we've really looked at glufosinate on a chemistry standpoint. We have changed surfactant packages. We have tried to make it a better product, and I think we have done a really good job. So as you can see in the slide, A is glyphosate, B is glufosinate. It is going to be faster than glyphosate, which is the active ingredient Roundup, for anybody who doesn't know that. Glufosinate has always been faster, but it didn't give the amount of kill that glyphosate usually did in the past. However, with diving back into it on a chemistry standpoint, I think we've nailed down a really good product. So again, speed, glufosinate, it is a Roundup alternative. It is a non-selective. It's a locally systemic. It's not a true systemic like glyphosate will. It is a much lower rate. It's usually half rate. It will not move. So if you spray it, it does not laterally translocate. So you spray it in a flower bed, it's not going to move outside of that flower bed. And there is no soil residual. So if you spray it, once it kills everything, you can replant, stuff like that. Very similar to glyphosate. Here's a study we did just on broadleaves. These were knee-high broadleaves in a field. We wanted to spray them side by side, so X out. We went all the way to 42 days, and we were looking at just individual plant death. And so, as you can see, a lot faster at the 7-day mark, and it gives pretty good control now that we've fine-tuned our surfactant packages in it. So here's a little grass study we did. So this is tall fescue with a bunch of just random weeds in it. Just doing strip tests of glyphosate on the far left, X out, which is our glufosinate, our Beluca, which is the perlingonic acid that I just showed you. And then we decided to put the perlingonic acid and the glufosinate together as an application. The reason is the Beluca is not a systemic, so it's going to kill very fast. Glufosinate is partially systemic, so if we put them together, we get extended period of kill with no regrowth for those tough to control weeds like dandelions. This was taken 7 days, so exactly 1 week after application. As you can tell, look how slow glyphosate is. I'm a whole lot better sprayer than that picture looks on. The wind was blowing pretty heavy that day, so I did have a lot of drift. As you can, there's not quite in the little red marks as compared to the other trials, but I am a better applicator than that, I promise. We do really like the combination, the tank mix combination of the Beluca and the X out. And if there's any information or rates or anything after this presentation, feel free to email me and I can share you some the rates that we went out at and the final results as well. All right, winding down. I want to talk to you a little bit about surfactants. I do get this question a lot being in technical service of when to use surfactants, when not to use surfactants, and what surfactants to actually use. So I wanted to break it down pretty easily. We have the MSO, which is a methylated seed oil, and then our 80/20 Select, which is a non-ionic surfactant. So I'm just going to separate them that way. We do have a long list of adjuvants that we sell that have different properties to them, but I just wanted to simplify this as quick as I can. So any post-patent herbicide applications I said earlier, we do recommend a surfactant. Even though these have surfactants built in, we always seem to get a boost of control when we add, whether it's NIS or MSO. And the way to think about it is NIS reduces surface tension, so it helps the water droplets stay on the leaf longer, whereas the MSO actually penetrates the waxy cuticle. So it does reduce water surface tension, but it's more to basically penetrate and drill through that waxy cuticle of the plant. Most grassy weeds will have thick cuticles compared to broadleaves. So when you're thinking about killing grasses, normally that herbicide will call for MSO. So think of quinclorac and crabgrass, or sulfentrazone and crabgrass, meso crabgrass, meso and sedges or colingas. Those are going to have waxy cuticles. That's what MSO goes with. Pretty much everything else, NIS will do the job. You just want to get that herbicide on the plant and make it stay there for a longer period of time, and that's what NIS does. I have a photo. So this is basically with and without NIS, which is our 80/20. So without it, it gets stuck on the hairs on the plant. With it, it's able to get down to the actual plant leaf itself. And then that's with and without as well. All it does is basically reduces the water, the surface tension, which means it expands that droplet outward.
And it just gives you better surface coverage, get better results.
Yeah, exactly. And then methylated seed oil, also known as our MSO. So it will enhance pretty much all post-emergent herbicides better than NIS. It does act like a non-ionic surfactant. It just has the increased ability to dissolve that waxy cuticle. Again, this is mainly for grassy weeds that will have that thick cuticle that you run into, not so much broadleaf weeds. They normally have the hairs on them. However, you can increase turf injury at high temperatures when you go to MSO. So that's the whole reason for this slide is I know a lot of people they hear that you get better control, so they throw a bunch of MSO in the tank. It does work well. It does increase how you control weeds. However, it can increase herbicide activity too much and you're starting to get injury. So with any of these, follow the label, and I usually try to stick with, if it's a broadleaf weed, NIS, if it's a grassy weed, MSO. And that will conclude our presentation for today.